Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group, and with me as always is Chip Janiszewski of the Hapoiness and Success GPS. Chip, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. What was once snowed in is now shoveled out. It's been
Excellent.
a fun few days here in Connecticut. So,
how
about you?
It's been an interesting time for the last couple days all over the country. Up in the Northeast, we've gotten blizzards and snowstorms. Out west, they got storms and mudslides. So wherever you are, it's been a challenge over the last couple of days.
Absolutely, but things are looking up.
Absolutely. And today, we're going to talk about the importance of having fun at work. Now, a lot of people talk about, it's work. That's not where you're supposed to have fun. But think how many hours you put into your job. Why would you want to spend that much time not having fun? And
absolutely. You spend more time at work than you are with your family and your wife and that kind of stuff. So it's so important. It's just logical to have fun.
Right. And it can be very important for the business as well. And we're going to start this off with a case study. Some of our listeners are probably familiar with it, talking about the Pike's Place Fish Market in Seattle. Now, this has become a worldwide tourist attraction now, but it wasn't always the case. It started out as a simple fish market, selling fresh fish that was on the verge of failure. And at the time, morale among the employees was terrible. The owners were stressed out. Nobody was coming to buy fish. And it looked like they were going out of business. Well, a couple of the employees decided one day, well, you know what? Nobody's around. We still have some stuff we have to do. We should have some fun with it. And they started tossing the fish around. And instead of just lugging fish from place to place, they started hurling it, throwing and catching through the store, and it cheered them up. Well, it did more than just cheer them up, because people heard their laughing, saw fish flying through the air, and went, well, wait a minute, I have to go see what's going on. And the act of throwing the fish around started drawing crowds. And as the crowds came, buyers came. And that one act of having fun at work changed the Pike's Place Fish Market completely, from a failing business to a thriving fish market where they still sell they focus on high quality fish, sustainable farming, all of this, which none of this was a big draw at the time they were going out. But they wouldn't have even gotten to that point had it not been for their ability to draw crowds by having fun. So the Pike's Place Market now is known for sustainable farming, for high quality fish, and it's also a tourist attraction, which completely saved the business, all because they decided, let's have some fun.
I was actually there probably 14, 15 years ago, back when I was a B&I assistant director. They had their national conference out there, and I went up to Pike Place, and it was one of the most fun places I'd ever seen. You walk in there, and there's stuff all over the place, not just fish, but everything else. And you see them throwing fish all over and just having a ball, but in a really, really organized fashion, communicating, and it's just like one big party. And I was just so impressed with the place. So I can't imagine them not being like that after seeing what I saw there.
And that's just it. I mean, they started out, they were nothing like that. They were a traditional fish market. And they started this as a way to boost employee morale when things were bad. And as morale went up, so did traffic. It brought people in, and it saved the business.
Oh, it's actually entertainment. You know, you pay money to see stuff that's not as fun as that.
So it really is important to have fun at work. And you can take what Pike's Place Market did and apply it anywhere, because it was just a matter of doing the same job you always did, but finding ways to enjoy it.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked so many times about there's two ways to react to anything: just go through the motions, or just say, I'm going to be positive about this and make it a great experience. And when you are spending so much time with these people working, it's so important to have great relationships with them. And as you mentioned, it's so much better for business to have people doing that. It's better for employee retention. It's better for the customers, the whole 9 yards. Happy companies are successful companies.
Certainly. I mean, it's all tied together, because you want your customers to have a great experience when they come to your business. Well, a customer isn't going to have a great experience if the employees don't have a great experience, because they're the ones that have to provide that customer service. So it all ties in. The more fun the employees are having, the better customer service is created, the more customers want to come back, and the more they tell their friends, oh, this is a business you've got to go to.
Absolutely. And as a consumer, you can tell right away if you're walking into a storefront that is not customer friendly. You can also tell when you're talking to people over the phone, if you're just talking with somebody that's just going through the motions as opposed to having a good time. So you're absolutely right. And, happiness attracts happiness. And if you want to have happy customers, it's really, really important to be happy first. And it's a win-win, because you should be happy.
Absolutely. And we've mentioned previously how you can actually hear the difference in somebody, even over the phone, if they're smiling or if they're not smiling. And the entire experience just translates better. So you're creating better customer service, better employee engagement. And if you're enjoying what you're doing, if you're actually having fun at work, I mean, remember, you're there 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. That's a lot of time to be miserable.
Absolutely. And you bring it home with you, too. So it stays with whoever you're living with at the time, which is not cool.
Oh, certainly. I mean, people talk all the time about work-life balance, but they talk about it as though work and their lives are two separate things that they're trying to, keep in check. But one always affects the other. And if you're miserable at work, it's very difficult not to bring that home. You've heard people say, oh, when I get home, I need an hour to decompress. Well, that's an hour of lost time with your family. And if you weren't miserable at work, you wouldn't need that time to decompress.
No, in fact, you'd come home happy and you'd be having a ball with your wife and your kids and so on, just because you've had a great day at work. It's like your kids coming home from school telling you all the fun stuff that's happened in school, and they got the A's on the test and fun at recess or whatever. You have a fun day at work and some fun things happen. It's great to talk about that when you get home, too. And it obviously will encourage the people that you're living with, your spouse and your children, to try and experience things from that viewpoint also.
Absolutely. And it's very important for you to find what can make you happy at work. And it can be a little thing. Even just, pictures around your cubicle. Going out for lunch. Breaking up the monotony. Little things that just make work a better place to be. You need to find those things and take advantage of them.
Yeah, I mean, atmosphere means a whole lot, and so does the philosophy of the company that you're working for. It doesn't matter, whether you're working for somebody or you're the boss there. If you have a company vision and you're working from a very, very positive standpoint and caring about the people there, it goes a long way in doing that. And I think I've referenced this book before called The Energy Bus, but it's all about teamwork. And this, I found out about this by being a sports nut and coming from the land of Connecticut, home of the Yukon Lady Huskies, who should win their 100th game in a row tonight. Brianna Stewart, who was a star of the team for the last 4 years and was Rookie of the Year with the Seattle Storm and also an Olympian who won a gold medal, she said in Sports Illustrated after they wrote an article about her that she's not only going to be bringing her talents to the Storm, but she's also going to be bringing a lot of energy. And she referenced the book called The Energy Bus by John Gordon as an inspiration for that. And just briefly, what that book is all about is bringing energy to your life and bringing energy to your workplace. And it goes in storybook fashion where there's this gentleman who's got a job at a very big company and he's in charge of a lot of people, and they have a big product launch coming up, and everybody at the company is very, very miserable, and their jobs are on the line based upon this product launch. And what happens is he gets out into the garage on a Monday morning and he's got a flat tire, at which time he remembers that the other tire in the trunk is also flat, and his wife had told him 6 months ago to get that one repaired. So he goes inside and asks his wife to drive him to work, and after this and that, whatever she says, take the bus. I'm much too busy to take you to work. And he gets on the bus, and the first thing that happens is this really, really happy lady says, "Good morning and welcome to the Energy Bus." And now he's ready to start, just ratting on people. So he said, "I'm going to wait this thing out." After work, he goes to the repair shop, and they said, "It's a good thing you're here for the tire because your brakes are gone too. There was a recall on your car, which you must have ignored 6 months ago. The part's not coming in for 2 weeks." So this whole book is about a transformation because he has to take the bus for the next 2 weeks of going from a miserable person to having a successful product launch, basically by using certain principles. Number one is really important, that you're the driver of your own bus, and it talks about desire, vision, and focus, and fueling your ride with positive energy, loving the people that you work with, inviting them to drive the bus with you. And it's all about teamwork and whatever. And obviously, it's a happy ending to the story. The product launches as a success, and he saved his marriage and so on and so forth. And it's a very, very fun read, The Energy Bus by John Gordon. Also, if you're into Audible, listening to things on tapes, books on tapes, he is actually the narrator of his own book. Highly recommended. So the new term for CEO in this book has changed from chief executive officer to chief energy officer. And that's what's so important. Energy is so important from a positive standpoint in making the workplace happy.
It really is. And you can start things off so simply when so many people get to the office, get to work in the morning, and the first thing they do is they grumble and they grab a cup of coffee and they don't talk to anybody. It's like they need to, take a moment and, get themselves together. But imagine if you'd done that before you got to work. Grabbed your coffee, got yourself awake, and when you walked in, you just greeted everybody with a smile and said good morning. It's a simple little thing, 2 words, or technically 2 words and a smile.
And it sets the tone for the whole rest of the day.
That's it. And when you have an office setting especially, what happens is contagious. We've all been in an office setting in the dead of winter where, one person comes in with a cold and then 2 weeks later, everybody is sick. Well, you can spread fun the same way, because if you're having fun, the people around you are going to start cheering up. And
Yep.
so many things that people do have become cliche so that people just dismiss them without ever trying them. I mean, every office has the person with the bowl of candy on their desk, or the boss says, "We're going to have a company-wide get-together," and everybody groans. But if you take advantage of these things and actually use them in the spirit they're intended, they can go a long way to creating better energy and having more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And, doing a lot of outside-the-box activities to get people engaged is so important. I mean, one of the keys to having a good company, that's a little bit larger is teamwork and posing challenges. I'm not even calling them problems. I'm calling them challenges to groups of teams so that they can mastermind solutions for that. And what that promotes is people saying, yeah, great idea, and so on and so forth, instead of pointing out things that are wrong. If you do things in a proactive and positive manner, it just changes the attitude of everybody in the whole company and the atmosphere. And it's not really hard to do. It's just saying this is the way I'm going to handle things. I mean, we talked a couple of weeks ago about how to win friends and influence people, and the word influence is so important. And just by taking an approach saying, I appreciate what you're doing, and let's see if we can work on something here, as opposed to you messed up here, it's so important. And it goes a long, long way towards keeping the atmosphere at work positive.
Exactly. And there's things you can do other than the way that you're facing the workload while you are in the office that can turn things around. Plan lunches. Once a week, get together with a bunch of people and just to have a bull session at lunch. Get together after work for drinks.
Have a dress down day on Friday, or have a theme where you're wearing Hawaiian shirts and shorts in the middle of February or something like that. It's just a great way to bring out the craziness in everybody, and everybody loves that kind of thing.
And encourage people to just be themselves. You know, you can't force somebody to have fun. Fun has to come naturally. So if somebody's not having fun, find out why. Maybe they've got something going on that you can help them out with. Maybe they're just very introverted and it takes a little extra effort to bring them out of their shell.
Yeah, you bring up a really, really good point, is just walking up to them and just getting them to talk, especially if they're on the shy side. There's nobody out there that doesn't like talking about themselves, and if you can show genuine interest in them, it's a great way to pull them out of, whatever's got them down a little bit, just by changing the subject and showing interest in them.
And of course, most of what we've been talking about in terms of offices. But now there's more and more people that work out of their house, solopreneurs, they're working alone. It's just as important for you to have fun when you're working alone as if you're in an office. If you work at home, find somewhere else to work once in a while. Go to a coffee shop. There are co-working spaces where you can just get a desk and have people around you. Interact with other people as often as you can, because it does get depressing being alone all the time. So if you're one of those people that you're a solopreneur and you are your company, you have to have fun too. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, a lot of people dream about doing that, and then they get out on their own and so on, and they do realize that it is lonely from time to time. If you do have to spend a lot of time in your office, that's where vision boards and pictures and just a positive atmosphere to work in means so much. But you're right, getting out and going to co-working spaces, or just hanging out in a Barnes & Noble coffee shop for a while, because they have Starbucks, at least up here in Connecticut there, and working out of there instead of working in your office, it just brings a whole lot more life to the situation. So it's good to be alone from time to time, but everybody needs people, so it's great to get out.
Absolutely. And if you are working at home, it's important to have a dedicated workspace. A lot of people, they just work on the kitchen table. Your best bet really is to have a dedicated space. It doesn't even have to be a separate room. It could just be a corner of a room. But some space that this is where you go to work. And then what you can do is you dress up that space to help you have fun during the day. I mean, I have my office. Now I have a dedicated office. It's a separate room. But I have a shelf in my office that just has little knickknacks and toys. It has magnetic bowls and rods. It's got feathers it's got feathers and styrofoam and just things that when I don't feel creative, I can pull out and start putting together in different configurations to have some fun. I've got on my walls, I've got stuff from Nathan's and Coca-Cola. I've got stuff from Shea Stadium and the New York Mets. I've got a record player.
You do have a very, very cool office, and I would recommend everybody who's listening to us today to come take a tour. I'm just kidding. It's a wonderful place that you have there, in the downstairs. And I mean, mine is totally different. Just as you said, I have the corner of my family room, which runs from the front of the house to the back of my house. But my desk is in the corner where there's a deck door that goes out into my wooded backyard, and it's one of those desks that fits in a corner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have my calendar that I have every year with my family pictures on there, and a whole bunch of other stuff there to look at. Plus, when it's nice out, I'm able to just open the deck door and just go work out there too. So it's a great atmosphere for me because that window's there, just looking into today, beautiful snowy day, but during the summer, it's just it's wonderful.
And that's it. It is so important to be able to enjoy things during the day. And a lot of people that work on their own fall into a trap where they almost feel guilty because there's not someone else there. They feel they have to tie themselves to the computer, or they have to tie themselves to their work and absolutely just focus, and that's all they're going to do because they have to sort of prove that they're not slacking off. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you work in an office, it's almost impossible for you to spend your full 8 hours there focused on work. You talk to the person in the next cubicle. You get lunch. You go to a water cooler. Well, you should do the same thing when you're working on your own. Make sure you block out a lunch hour and do something fun on your lunch hour. Go to a restaurant. Go to a park. Go for a walk. Something that you enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, whether you're working at a company, in an office, or by yourself, it really does come down to time management. And, we've talked about SMART goals and so on and so forth, and those are the drivers. It's, what you're accomplishing rather than, how you're spending every minute of every day. And, when it's nice out, during the summer, it's great to just go out and take a walk at lunchtime or do whatever you want to do. But you got to put things in perspective and just making sure that you're quote unquote productive every minute. If that productivity is really not productive, it's just putting in the time. You should be doing something else.
Right. And now with laptops and tablets and smartphones, it's so easy to work anywhere. Go outside, work on the deck, if the weather's nice. Go to a coffee shop. Even if you're in an office, a lot of companies have other places that you can go to work rather than just at your desk. A lunch room, a coffee room. Sometimes there's areas just in the hallways where you can gather. Take advantage of these things. Give yourself a change of perspective and have some fun.
Absolutely. It's so important to do that. I mean, if you're working at a bigger company and they have like a gym, or they have like yoga classes and so on and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of companies that promote this by offering these things, and these are things that you should look for.
Absolutely. And of course, if you go into, most department stores will have things like this, but certainly office supply stores, the little things that I call covert fun. The basketball hoop that you mount on your garbage can. The little desk toys, nobody really notices, but it sits on your desk and you squeeze it or you hit it or whatever it is. These are great to have around. Years ago, I worked at a medical communications company. And at the time, the movie Austin Powers had been out. And I had on my desk a little action figure of Dr. Evil that when you pushed a button on it, said from the movie, "Why am I surrounded by frickin' idiots?" Well, this became a company toy. anytime somebody would get off the phone with an unreasonable client or something was driving, they would come over to my desk, push the button. And it made people feel better.
That's so cool. Did it run on batteries? Did you go through like a couple batteries every day?
It did run on batteries, but the batteries were remarkably long-lasting. It was an old-fashioned watch battery that it ran on, and I think it ran a couple of years on the one battery.
Oh, wow. That's great. So, yeah, there's so many different things you can do, and, you know, what's so important is really just appreciate the people that you're with all the time, and I don't care whether it's work or whether it's at home in the family or walking down the street, but that just goes so far, and it really just starts with a smile. You walk into work smiling every day, those people are going to smile back at you, even if they're mad at everybody else.
That's it. And do something unexpected. You know, I worked at a local newspaper for a while as editor. And one morning, we were talking about where you could get the best milkshake. And it turned out that one of the best places was just a mile down the road. So when I went out for lunch, I brought milkshakes back for everybody.
Oh, wow. That must have made their day.
It is. It's amazing how much a little thing like that turns people around. It's like, it's unexpected, it's fun. And you don't have to do something for the whole office, or, I mean, every once in a while. Bring in a box of donuts on a Friday morning if your company doesn't already do something like that. We used to, after Halloween, bring in all the leftover candy and just set up a big bowl in the kitchen. Little things like that go a long way.
Absolutely. I mean, it reminds me of another book. It's one of my favorites called The Go-Giver. I think it's by Bob Burg and John David Mann or whatever, and it's all about those things. And it's basically, you've heard of go-getters who are salespeople or whatever, but the go-giver side is just playing to people and appreciating them and doing that kind of stuff. And it actually referenced some of the things you were talking about there. Pouring coffee. This gentleman actually walked around the whole office and just poured coffee for everybody from the pot. And just little touches like that are just amazing as far as what they do for other people's morale.
Yeah, ask somebody to go to lunch with you. If you're just running out to pick something up, offer to pick something up for them. Little things like that go a long way. And the more people do things like that, the bigger the effect. And when you don't hate where you're working, going to work becomes a pleasure rather than a chore.
Yeah, it needs to be a pleasure. I mean, who likes to map 8 hours a day into the misery factor? It just doesn't work that way. So it's just so important for everybody involved, whether the employee or the employer, and just understand that that person in the mirror is in charge of making that day happy. So even if the situation's not perfect, you can make it more perfect for yourself just by the way you handle things.
That's it. We're coming up on the end of our time. So, Chip, what do you think is the one takeaway you want our listeners to take this week?
Positive attitude. Make your day.
Yep. I think we need to take away, find ways to have fun. It's great for your mental well-being and for the business itself. So have yourself a good time while working. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at blogtalkradio.com/Success Showcase, or you can find us on demand in the Apple Podcasts app or the iTunes store. We look forward to talking to you next week. Have a great time.